Top of the morning from the newsroom of Regional Radio and DeWittDailyNews.com. I'm Seth Lawrence with this expanded 7 o'clock newscast brought to you by Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton, your Silverado headquarters, and we stream to Facebook and YouTube here this morning. News also brought to you by Connexus, providing fiber internet to Clinton. Learn more at DeWittDailyNews.com. The city of Clinton has come under fire recently from residents, both at city council meetings and on social media, over its efforts to clean up the city through code enforcement. While it has been a long-running effort, Tony Harris, Clinton city administrator, indicates the city of the very first thing he was charged with was code enforcement. While many have been voicing opposition to it, Harris indicates he is often queried about why property neglect is allowed to carry on.
Before I even started the position, when citizens of Clinton were figuring out that I'm being considered for the position, what I kept hearing is, Tony, you've lived here your entire life. Can you please help us get the city cleaned up? Can you take care of some of these abandoned homes, rundown homes, the garbage? So I started immediately working on some of that. Chief Lowers and I met. We talked about it. That's kind of that's important to him too. It's important to me to get the city cleaned up. So we started working on it immediately. You know, the one question that I've been getting is, why do you allow this? Why do you allow these homes just to sit and just fall down? You know, why do you allow these properties to continue to collect garbage? Well, we don't necessarily allow it. You know, and this was kind of new to me too. I had a meeting with Chief Lowers, like I mentioned. I asked him that question, and he's like, well, Tony, let's look here. So he brought up through DeWitt County Judici a person that's been dealt with numerous times, and there were 9 violations. These are court cases, 9 ordinance violations due to garbage around the home. We could never get compliance. We could never get a conviction for whatever reason. They were either dismissed or he wouldn't show up for court. And then we had talking to the city attorney that some language needs to be changed within the ordinance so we can have more enforcement power and take more legal action. So yeah. That's what started the entire thing. And a lot of these ordinances that being proposed they're nothing new. I mean, it's most of them are already, not all of them, but most of them are already in our ordinance, like the feral cat issue. And it's just the wording's been changed a little bit.
A trio of ordinance modifications recently caught the ire of individuals regarding the care of feral animals. Harris indicates he's heard from both sides on this issue, and for many, feral animals are a nuisance to their property.
Okay, so currently in the ordinance right now, it basically says any person who shelters, harbors, feeds, encourages, or permits an animal to remain at, near, or about his premises or living quarters shall be deemed the owner of that cat or such animal. So basically what that says currently in the current ordinance is, if you're feeding a feral cat, you take ownership of that cat. And then you keep reading the ordinance, and a cat can't be running at large, you know, and they have to be properly vaccinated, things like that. You can't do it now. So we were just trying to clean up some of that stuff. And I get it, Seth. You know, I was in charge of the animal shelter and animal control last year, and I heard this complaint a lot. What do we do about the feral cats? You know, we heard last night from the people that they feel sorry for the cats. They want to take care of the cats. We understand that. We get that. But what about the neighbor across the street where the cats are coming in and defecating in their sandbox or, urinating on their deck? You know, what about that? So we didn't hear from those people. So that's where we're kind of stuck in the middle. I hear from them weekly. And the same thing with dilapidated homes, you know, those same things, you know. But let's get back to the cat problem. So that's why it was on there. You know, I was not necessarily in favor of that because, you know, like I said, I was in charge of animal control. I like feral cats, but they can be a nuisance. So just because I like it doesn't mean that, you know, I get to dictate what goes in or out of the ordinance. You know, we have to listen to the other people as well. And that's what we were doing.
While he gets complaints regarding feral animals regularly, what he gets more regularly is complaints from neighbors regarding properties that are not well kept.
again, what started this was just the complaints that we get, and I do get those. I would say daily.
Okay.
In particular, the house that I was talking about earlier with all the fines that Chief Lowers and I talked about as an example, the neighbor across the street, it's not fair to them to have to put up with that kind of stuff. And that's the complaint that we get all the time. Why is this allowed? Why can't you do something about this? So again, that's why we're trying to beef up the ordinance where we can do something about it. And the same goes with the fines and fees. We're trying to get some teeth in the game where we can actually try to do something where we'd have a little bit more leverage to get it cleaned up, whether it's the city going in to clean it up or making the homeowner get it cleaned up. Basically through the ordinance, and I don't want to get into specifically in the new ordinance because, it's still a work in process. I don't want to get into the actual ordinance, but I do want to say that, through the ordinance, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get more teeth in it where we can get something done with it. And that's why the language is in there the way it's in there.
Another issue that has generated more attention online than more so in city council forums is a graffiti ordinance update. While some have argued the police will be coming for kids and sidewalk chalk, Harris says people need to use common sense, pointing out this is largely for vandalism.
I want to say that we took a common sense approach with some of this stuff. And, when I say that, I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but you have to go back to common sense. That's not what we intended.
Right.
If there's a child on the sidewalk playing with chalk, we're not going to come down and arrest their parents or take that child away. That's not the intent. The intent is graffiti. And there's still properties around town now, and that's why it's being addressed, because there's graffiti that maybe happened 20 years ago and it's still there, and some of it's very offensive. And it's been there for years. So that's the intent behind that too. Graffiti is not an issue in town right now, the act, but graffiti left over from years ago is sort of an issue. Is it widespread? I mean, there's a few places that need to be cleaned up because of it. And again, it's because of the offensiveness of some of the graffiti.
Last week, the city council heard nearly an hour of testimony from residents defending their right to do with their property what they want. But Harris reminds residents also have neighbors who have to deal with the decisions of how you want to live on your property.
And I understand that. That's their property. But we had a gentleman there at the meeting last night, the one that spoke in favor of the ordinance to get it cleaned up. Why was he there, and why is he speaking in favor of it? Because he lives between the two properties, one of the properties that we're talking about. He has a nice house right in the middle of both of them. In his backyard, he's looking at one of them, and in his front yard, he's looking at the other. I get it that it's their property. It's his property too. He can't even enjoy his backyard without looking at the 4 vehicles in the backyard and the junk in the front yard. Yes, it's their property, but it's his too. So we have to consider that as well. We have to consider the neighbors across the street and what they have to look at.
None of the proposed ordinances were voted on at last week's council meeting, and Harris stresses they continue to be a work in progress. The biggest event of the year for a local community is here. Taylor Baxter, city administrator for Farmer City, is excited to experience his first Heritage Days since starting his position earlier this year. He notes the location is changing for this year's festival.
It's really excited for Heritage Days. I've heard about it. Obviously, being over in Clinton, you hear what's going on in neighboring towns, and we, as in Clinton, had the Big Apple and Pork Festival, and obviously that's a huge thing. But this is Farmer City's big event, and really exciting things that are happening over there. It's being held at the Raceway for the first time. So it used to be held downtown bringing to the stage. So this is actually being moved for the first year. So we're gonna see how that goes. So they're gonna, from what I've known, I haven't seen a layout, and I think that's what we're working with to be able to assist them is, there's going to be carnival, there's going to be the vendor show, there's going to be a car show, and all of that stuff is happening out there. And Cody, Canada is on the 30th, And then Drew Baldridge is on Saturday the 31st.
Nice.
So good country guys that are up and coming. I've listened to Drew Baldridge before live, and he's great. Cody Canada, I haven't, but he's got some good songs out right now. And
Okay.
it's a really good poll for Farmer City. It's pretty neat.
Baxter indicates many of the attractions of Heritage Days come at no cost to the community, including a free dinner. Other things will require a purchase, like tickets and admission to the concerts.
So from what I've seen, and this is all I've just seen online, and me being the newbie, I could get something wrong, but a lot of that stuff is free. Like you can come in and you can look at the vendors, and I'm sure the carnival is going to cost something. There is a free community dinner, so that's kind of unique. But FarmerCityHeritageDays.com, that's where you would need to go to find all that information. I believe the concerts, there's a cost to that just to be able to get your tickets and be able to offset some of their costs. So yeah, FarmerCityHeritageDays.com is the place to go for all that info.
Farmer City Heritage Days begins tonight and runs through Saturday. Learn more about the lineups, vendors, and attractions by visiting, again, FarmerCityHeritageDays.com. And be sure to tune in tonight from 5 to 6 p.m. on 95.9 FM WEZC for live updates from this year's Heritage Days Festival. News time, 17 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. A local addiction support group is taking a new approach to recovery. At earlier this month's Warner Hospital Health Fair, Maggie Memmott with DeWitt County ROSC told Regional Radio, ROSC stands for Recovery Oriented System of Care, and they connect those who are struggling with addiction with resources that can help their journey to recovery.
ROSC stands for Recovery Oriented System of Care. We are giving out resources for rehab facilities, recovery group meetings, naloxone in case of a drug overdose, just a lot of good information on to help a loved one or even a family member that might be struggling with a loved one that has an issue. It'll be 2 years in July. We have 2 support groups of 10 people on each, so that's 20 people. We're able to help a lot of different people get into rehab, help with housing, driver's license, support groups. We're even able to get someone in the right resource direction if their family member is having a hard time, like getting into Heritage.
At the health fair, ROSC was distributing free naloxone. Memmott indicates many people are unaware of the life-saving medication like naloxone that can help prevent an overdose.
A lot of times people don't know what naloxone is, and also they think it's just for the person that has a drug problem, but also it could be young children that touch something, high school that is experimenting. It could be all different kinds of things. So I want them to know that recovery is possible and that they're not alone, and we've got the support we need for our town. Right now, Heritage has been a really big part of it. John Warner Hospital is a really good part of it. If I can't get them into somewhere, Sandra Beecher from Gateway, we've got a good system, so we're able to get the help that resources need. We also have tasks, so we all just kind of team up, and what we can't do, the next person does.
ROSC also is promoting the DART program, which is intended to give people who are caught with illegal substances the opportunity to go to rehab rather than jail.
Well, they say that if somebody gets in trouble with like a substance or something, they have the option to go to like a rehab facility. They help with transportation if they can't get to those, anything to do with substance use. They help with transportation. And they also, if you need to get into a rehab facility, they help with that also.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, mental health issues, or suicidal thoughts or actions, reach the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. Otherwise, learn more about resources offered by DeWitt County ROSC by finding them on Facebook. News time is 19 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Thursday. Plenty more to get to coming up on the morning show.
Experience the power of better connection with Connexus Fiber Internet. Connexus delivers ultra-fast, reliable speeds to keep you connected at the speed of life. Whether you're working from home, streaming your favorite shows, or gaming with your friends, Connexus has you covered. Say goodbye to buffering and dropped calls and say hello to Fiber Fast Internet. Ready to upgrade your connection? Sign up today by clicking the Connexus icon at DeWittDailyNews.com. Nothing connects us like Connexus.
Baum Chevrolet Buick offers full transportation options while giving you peace of mind. This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton and Farmer City. This is what we strive to do each and every day. We'll listen to you, give you the options for routine maintenance, major mechanical problems, or collision repairs with a staff that is knowledgeable to find the best option for you. Baum Chevrolet Buick, your full service dealer. See us at baumchevybuick.com right from the start.
News time is 21 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Thursday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks this morning for this expanded local newscast. The House Budget Reconciliation Bill won approval by a one-vote margin last week in Washington. Reaction from Illinois Farm Bureau Director of National Legislation, Ryan Whitehouse.
So based on our policy book, we've got ag programs put into this, a mini farm bill program. There's still work to be done on that. We're working to get a Farm Bill 2.0 to get the legislative fix and the policy fixes. But there's money in there for crop insurance. There's increases for premium support for crop insurance. There's money in there for crop insurance for beginning farmers to help get them subsidies. There's money in there for reference price increases. Still some work that needs to be done there a little bit, but there's some reference price increases. There's indemnities for livestock. There's programs there's dollars for trade, which is important, especially during the tariff war and all that stuff. So there are, on the ag sector, there are a lot of policies that the Illinois Farm Bill policy book supports. When it comes to taxes, most of the 2017 Tax Cuts Jobs Act were passed in the House, and a lot of them were made permanent. That's a big win for us. Lower tax brackets, Section 179, instant expensing, Section 131 exchanges. One of the concerns we had in the bill that came out of the committee was the UBIT, the unrelated business income tax. That would have a financial impact on our counties and our state organization. That did not make it in the final bill, and we thank Mr. LaHood for pushing hard on that and making sure that didn't make it into the final bill. So the tax reforms are a good win for our farm families, and there's some good ag policy. And then there's a lot of other areas that we just don't have policy on, that we didn't really deal with, and if we don't have policy, we don't play in those fields. But the SNAP benefits were the controversial issue of the day, and so was the Medicaid work requirements, and according to Democrats, the Medicaid cuts. But we don't play in that area as well.
The issue now moves on to the U.S. Senate. Cold overnight temperatures have slowed corn and soybean growth in many parts of Illinois this spring.
That is changing. Over the course of this week, we're going to see pretty consistent increase in those temperatures. So it's going to take a little bit, couple of days, but then as we get into late this week and into the weekend and early next week, we start seeing more widespread high temperatures in the 80s. And actually, we may start to see a couple of places creep up towards 90 early next week. And those nighttime temperatures, because the humidity is not going to be very high, they may still dip down into the 50s, but we're not going to see any more of those 40s. So, hopefully as we get closer to this weekend and the next week, better temperatures for kind of that rapid growth of those early planted corn and beans.
State climatologist Trent Ford says the first week of June should be mostly dry. Strawberry season is underway in Illinois, says Regella Scavuzzo, who serves as Illinois Farm Bureau Associate Director of Food Systems Development.
What's funny is strawberries has an 8 to 10 week differential between northern and southern Illinois. So we get a really long strawberry season, which I love. But also okay, I've just been waiting. Southern Illinois had strawberries. When are we heading central Illinois? When are we heading up north? It just it's really our mark for the summer. And so we have seen a lot of opening days for U-Pick strawberry operations, farm stands, and a lot of farmers markets are now moving out of just your plant starts into your fruits and vegetables. We'll see lettuces, all our kind of cold weather mid-season crops. And then obviously June and July, things get really exciting around here. As you know, if you need to find your farmers markets or your local farm, we do run your favorite local food directory.
You can always find that specialty growers directory at specialtygrowers.org/shop local and search by product and location. News time is 26 minutes after 7 o'clock here on this Thursday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with you folks today for this expanded local newscast. On the way to prepare several meals for a week and save money is incorporating taking leftovers. Rod Bain, as this reports. News time is 27 minutes after 7 o'clock on this Thursday. Again, I'm Seth Lawrence with the folks today for this expanded local newscast. Time now for a look at this morning's obituaries. 83-year-old Gilbert L. Woody Wood of Decatur, formerly of Clinton, passed away May 20th at Hickory Point Christian Village in Forsyth. Graveside services for 83-year-old Gilbert L. Wood Jr. will be at 2 p.m. today at the IOOF Township Cemetery in Moweaqua with Reverend Andy Maxwell officiating. There will be no visitation. The family has entrusted Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton with arrangements in lieu of flowers. Memorials can be directed to Decatur Memorial Foundation Hospice, sharing wishes. 3-year-old Kason James Clifton passed away May 24th at Decatur Memorial Hospital in Decatur. A visitation for 3-year-old Kason James Clifton will be today at Calvert Funeral Home in Clinton from 5 to 7 p.m. Services will be at 7 with Pastor Shane Davis officiating. In lieu of flowers, the family asks you honor his memory by hugging your little ones a little tighter and spreading kindness in his name. 58-year-old Teresa Marie Carr of Clinton passed away May 24th. Services for 58-year-old Teresa Marie Carr will be from 3 to 7 p.m. Saturday, June 7th at Whitney's Cove in Clinton. A private family interment will be at Memorial Park Cemetery in Clinton at a later date. The family has entrusted Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton with cremation rights. Memorials can be directed to the Teresa Carr Memorial Fund. 80-year-old Robert B. Paul Sr. of Wapella passed away May 25th. Services for 80-year-old Robert B. Paul Sr. will be at 2:30 Friday at Calvert Funeral Home of Clinton with Josh Gorey officiating. Military honors will follow. The visitation will be from 1 to 2:30 at the funeral home. Memorials can be directed to Wapella Christian Church. 92-year-old William Bill D. Seymour of Atlanta passed away Sunday, May 25th at Lincoln Memorial Hospital. Services for 92-year-old William D. Seymour will be at Eminence Christian Church in rural Atlanta Saturday, May 31st. Visitation will begin at 9 a.m. and will conclude with funeral services at 11, officiated by Reverend Henry Johnson. Burial will follow at the Atlanta Cemetery. Military rights will be provided by the Atlanta American Legion, Post 341. Memorials can be made to Eminence Christian Church. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Chinese nationals studying in the U.S. who have ties to the Chinese Communist Party and who are engaged in critical areas of study could have their visas revoked. He says their backgrounds will be closely scrutinized. China continues to aggressively expand its space program, launching an unmanned mission to collect and return samples from a pair of asteroids near Mars. The U.S. Court of International Trade has ruled against President Trump's tariffs, the White House appealing the court's finding that Mr. Trump exceeded his authority. Elon Musk is leaving the administration after leading DOGE, the effort to combat government waste fraud, and abuse. Ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street, Dow futures 140 points higher, NASDAQ futures up 281. More details at srnnews.com.
Progressive knows when you're in your RV, you're already on vacation.
With SRN Sports, I'm George Williams. NBA playoff action. If Game 4 was a squeaker, the Oklahoma Thunder left no doubt last night in Game 5, embarrassing the NBA champions from a couple of years ago. The Denver Nuggets final score 124-94. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming through with 34 points for his team. The Thunder advance to the NBA Finals for the first time since 2012. Tonight in the Eastern Conference, it's the Pacers and the Knicks, with Indiana leading 3-1. They could clinch the series with a victory. NHL, the Florida Panthers eliminated the Hurricanes 5-3. Carolina started fast with 2 goals in the first period, but the defending conference and Stanley Cup champions were undaughted, scoring the next 3. Carolina tied the game in the third, but Florida scored 4 minutes later and added an empty net goal for insurance for the win. Tonight, Oilers and Stars. Edmonton leads the series by a 3-1 margin. This is SRN Sports. On the golf this weekend, the U.S. Women's Open will be played Wisconsin, and the Memorial Tournament, Jack Nicklaus's event at the Muirfield Village course in Dublin, Ohio. Major League Baseball, 4 shutouts. Yankees over the Angels 1-0. Nationals beat the Mariners 9-0. Rays over the Twins 5-0, and the Blue Jays were 2-0 winners over the Rangers. Elsewhere is the White Sox over the Mets 9-4. Guardians beat the Dodgers 7-4. Tigers winners over the Giants by a run 4-3. In 10 innings, the Brewers beat the Red Sox 6-5. Astros over the Athletics 5-3. The Pirates got on track with a 10-1 win over the Diamondbacks, and the Marlins had their bats out in a 10-8 slugfest to win over the Padres. And then you had the Cardinals defeating the Orioles 6-4. The Royals beat the Reds 3-2. Cubs over the Rockies 2-1, and the Braves and the Phillies postponed due to rain. This is SRN Sports.
Time now for a look at sports. I'm Seth Lawrence with this report. In a game heard on WEZC and online at DeWittDailyNews.com, Carter Foran was brilliant on the mound again and led Monticello past Bismarck-Henning 3-1 in a Class 2A sectional semifinal victory Wednesday from the Workman Family Baseball Field at Millikan University in Decatur. Foran went 5 innings of 1-run ball with 6 strikeouts. He permitted a run on 3 hits and issued 2 walks. The senior followed up a brilliant performance last Wednesday in a 2-1 win over Tri-Valley in regional action. 1-ball, 2-strike pitch. Foran on the way to Packard. Swung on and missed. He struck him out, and Foran gets out of a first and second nobody out jam in the top of the first. The Blue Devils do not score. Monticello coming up in the first on WEZC. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Foran home with it. Out on the outside corner. Struck him out.
What a great command of the strike zone right now. Carter Foran is on a roll.
Strikeout number 2 for Foran. It's a 1-2-3 second for the Sages senior. 1 ball, 2 strikes. The boys a modest lead at first. Foran from the belt brings home the 1-2. And a called 3rd strike. Foran has struck out the 3rd batter in each of the first 3. He's got 3 strikeouts through 3 scoreless on WEZC. Foran home with that 0-2 pitch to Landon Packard. Swing and a miss. Struck him out.
Nice job by Carter, going right after strike zone.
That is strikeout number 4 and out number 2 here in the 4th. Foran trying to go for that 4th straight strikeout to end the inning. 2-2 pitch. Swung out and missed. He got it.
Magical right there. Nice job.
5th strikeout for Foran. 4 scoreless in the books for the senior. After 3.5, Monticello 2, Bismarck-Henning 0. Brings it home. Swung on and missed. Got him with that one. And out number 1. Foreign was the serve pro of Piatt-DeWitt County's player of the game. The Sages broke a scoreless tie in the third when Brian Wilchin, Foreign, and Eric Arnold hit back-to-back-to-back singles to start the inning. Arnold's single was a bunt that caught the whole diamond by surprise. Home with the first. Arnold shows bunt. Oh, third base line, a good one. And no play anywhere as everybody moves up a base and is safe. With the bases loaded and nobody out, Eli Kraft scored Wilchin with a sac fly to center to make it 1-0. Ike Young then singled in Foreign to make it 2-0. Here we go. 1 ball, no strike pitch to Eli Kraft. Fly ball center field. This should be deep enough as coming on is Thomas. He'll make the catch. Wilchin will tag. The throw comes in. It is going to be late scoring Wilchin, and it's 1-0 Sages. The Illinois commit waits on the first from Kellermanick, who checks and will set. First on the way. To the left side of the base hit will score Foreign, and it's 2-0 Sages. Monticello was thrown out at third base 4 times to end an inning during the game, squandering opportunities to grow its lead. They added the final run of the game when Arnold scored from third after Caden Kellermanick balked to make it 3-1. Nobody out. Zeke Young is at first. Ike Young is the batter. He showed bunt and took a strike on the first pitch from Kellermanick. They will check on Young, who takes off, and Young is a balk. It is a balk. Wow. And Arnold will score to make it 3-1. Arnold finished 2 for 2 with an RBI. Wilchin was 2 for 3 with a triple, while Kraft was 2 for 2 with an RBI for the Sages. Monticello goes to 29-6 overall. They will go for their first sectional championship since 2021 on Saturday at 1 o'clock. They will take on Tolono Unity, who beat Normal U-High 6-4 on Wednesday night. Hear the action on 95.9 FM, WEZC, and online at DeWittDailyNews.com. A 7-run 5th inning helped Lincoln down Champaign Centennial 14-4 in a 5-inning run rule win Wednesday in Class 3A high school baseball regional semifinal action from Champaign. The Rail Splitters' 7-run rally started with 2 outs and a 7-4 lead. Drew Hayes doubled in Austin Lucas, who had singled. Then Parker Grau brought in Hayes to make it 9-4. Back-to-back run-scoring singles from Owen Comstock, Kyle Keeler, and Ashton Corley stretched the lead to 14-4. Hayes and Grau finished 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs to lead Lincoln. Hayes hit a double. Keeler was 1 for 3 with 2 runs batted in. Corley was 2 for 4 with an RBI, while Lucas finished 1 for 4 with an RBI. Carson Featon and Grau combined to limit the Chargers to 4 runs on 4 hits with 4 strikeouts and combined to issue 4 walks. Lincoln goes to 16-16 overall. The Rail Splitters advanced to Saturday's regional championship to take on top-seeded Champaign Central at 11 a.m. at Champaign Central High School. A balk with the bases loaded sent Normal Community past Rock Island 2-1 in a Class 4A regional semifinal 12-inning thriller from Moline on Wednesday. Drew Stevens tripled with 1 out in the bottom of the 12th. Rock Island elected to walk Gavin Swartz and Andrew Nauer intentionally to load the bases. With Brady Burkhart at the plate and a 1-0 count, a balk was called, scoring Stevens from third and gave the Ironmen the walk-off win. Sophomore Keegan Swain went 10 1/3 innings of 1-run ball for the Rocks. He struck out 6, walked 1, and allowed just 3 hits. Gavin Swartz fired 8 2/3 innings for Normal Community. He allowed a run on 2 hits with 13 strikeouts. Jonah Roper struck out 5 in 3 1/3 scoreless innings of relief to pick up the win. Gavin Michaels was 2 for 4 with a double for the Ironmen. Max Heineman recorded the only RBI of the day for Normal Community. Corbin Harris finished 1 for 4 with a double, and Stevens was 1 for 5 with a triple. Normal Community goes to 32-4 overall and will play the winner of today's contest between Plainfield North and East Moline United Saturday at noon for a regional championship. Graydon Leonard pitched 6 innings of 1-run ball, and GCMS rallied past Mount Pulaski 3-1 to advance in a Class 1A sectional semifinal game from Arcola Wednesday. Leonard struck out 8 and walked 2, permitting 5 hits. Zeb Greer struck out 2 and worked around a walk to close out the win for the Falcons. Luke Martin doubled in the only run for Mount Pulaski in the third, but was thrown out trying to stretch it to a triple. The Falcons got the run back in the fourth when Parker Bally scored Connor Kinzinger to tie the game at 1. A 2-run error cost the Hilltoppers in the fifth, putting the Falcons up 3-1. Martin was 2 for 2 with a double and an RBI for Mount Pulaski. Eric Cooper, Chance Payne, and Preston Cowan had hits for the Hilltoppers. Cooper took the tough luck loss for Mount Pulaski. He struck out 8 in 5 innings, allowing 3 unearned runs on 6 hits and did not walk a batter. The Hilltoppers end its season 22-7 overall. Class 1A high school baseball sectional semifinal action from Wednesday. From the Arcola sectional, Salt Fork blanked Argenta Oriena 10-0. From the Peru St. Bede sectional, it was Hayworth blanking Verna Midland 2-0, and Lexington got by Henry Senequine 3-1. High school baseball Class 2A sectional semifinal action from Wednesday. From the Chillicothe sectional, Eureka down Sherrard 2-1, and IVC blank Peoria Notre Dame 4-0. From Milliken, as mentioned, Tolono Unity down Normal U-High 6-4. From the Pleasant Plains sectional, Plains blanked Auburn 9-0, and North Mac fell to Springfield Sacred Heart Griffin 12-1. High school baseball Class 3A regional semifinal action from Wednesday. From Champaign Central, Central blanked Urbana in 5 innings, 13-0. From East Peoria, Dunlap doubled up Richwoods 2-1, and Limestone doubled up East Peoria 4-2. From the Jacksonville regional, Chatham Glenwood down Springfield Southeast 4-1, and Jacksonville blanked Springfield 2-0. From the Mount Zion regional, Rochester got by Decatur MacArthur 9-2, and Mount Zion beat Taylorville 9-1. From Rantoul, Mahomet Seymour blanked Danville in 5 innings, 10-0, and Rantoul edged Bloomington 3-2. From the Washington Regional, Washington blanked Metamoris 6-0, and Geneseo got by Morton 10-3. High school baseball Class 4A regional semifinal action for today. From Normal West, it'll be Normal West and Bradley Bourbonnais at 4:30. High school softball Class 2A sectional semifinal action from Wednesday. From the Macomb sectional, Auburn blanked Olympia 4-0. High school softball Class 3A regional semifinal action from Wednesday. From Rantoul, Champaign Central down Rantoul 4-1, and Mahomet Seymour outlasted Danville in 8 innings 2-1. Andrew Benintendi had a season-high 4 RBIs and finished a double shy of the cycle, powering the Sox to a 9-4 win over the Mets Wednesday, preventing a 3-game sweep. Benintendi laced an RBI triple in the first inning, a RBI single in the first inning, then an RBI single in the 6th before hitting his 6th homer in the 8th.
Tendy with a base hit, right center. Talkman scores. Vargas around third. He'll cross the plate. It's 2-0 on a Benintendi single. 0-2. Pulled fair into the right field corner. Soto will go pick it up. Vargas around third. Here he comes, and he's going to score. And for some reason, Alonso threw home after double clutching, and that will allow Benintendi to get to third. And it looked like Alonso had a play on Benny at third base. So that's a break for the White Sox.
100% correct.
It's 6-3. Pitch hit in the air. Deep right. If it's fair, it's gone. It's a home run. First homer of the day for the White Sox. It's 9-3. He's a double short of a cycle today. Got 4 RBIs.
Yeah, have a day.
Lenine Sosa had 3 hits.
Pitch, base hit left field. Sosa was all over Waddell and finally hits one hard on the ground in fair territory. His 3rd hit, Benintendi scores. It's 7-3.
Mike Tachman provided a 2-run double for the Sox, who avoided being swept for the 7th time this season.
A 1-0 coming, and there's a line shot rocket to right. It's down for a base hit in the corner. Lee scores. Rojas rounding 3rd. Relay throw by McNeil, and it's late. That is a 2-run double for Mike Tachman, and it's 4-0.
Mark Vientos hit a 3-run homer for the Mets, whose 4-game winning streak ended. Pete Alonso had an RBI double in the 9th. The Sox will the Sox are off Thursday, rather. Sean Burke starts Friday in Baltimore. Hear the action on WHOW. Brendan Donovan hit a 2-run home run. Mason Wynn had 4 hits, and the Cardinals beat the Orioles 6-4 Wednesday night at a soggy Camden Yards. Pete Crow Armstrong hit his 15th home run, and Matthew Boyd tossed 6 innings of 4-hit ball as the Cubs swept the Rockies Wednesday night 2-1 for their 4th straight win. The Cubs host the Reds on Friday. The Cardinals are off today. They will host the Rangers, or they rather take on the Rangers in Texas on Friday. Get sports anytime from your computer or mobile device at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast.